Ladies and gentlemen, our LWF takeover is now beginning because we are certainly getting ready here for Saturday's event, which we are marching on toward it. It's a very, very big card, and always excited to speak with him. He is arguably the heart and soul of the LWF. He is obviously the commentator for all the stuff you hear. All those great calls come from him, and of course, Steve Bibby as well, who we've had on, obviously Mr. Bibby. So I'm really excited to have him on here. I was waiting for this for several days. When he messaged me earlier this morning in the afternoon, he's like, "Oh, we still on?" Of course. Whatever I can do for the LWF, we love the LWF. And without further ado, here on the Sports Report, the #1 global sports show, the heart and soul of the LWF. He's the commentator for all the great events that you see, and that's Mikey Fitzgerald.
Do the old classic MSG thing there.
Well, it's Simon Hill's birthday, so Simon Hill, happy birthday to you. That was just for you, but
Happy birthday, Simon.
But more importantly, if your voice is shot and if there's a way for me to get down to the town of Clorley, maybe that's a way possible. That's my ringing, I guess, whatever you want to call it. I guess maybe a job application or job interview. But
you'll be Michael Buffer. You'll be like when WCW books Michael Buffer to do the main event. We've booked the Reverend Thomas Bryce to do the ring introductions.
Well, I think I would charge you a lot less. Maybe Steve Bibby can pay me in hot dogs. Maybe if the hot dogs taste good, from what I've heard the hot dogs taste good down by you guys. So
do you reckon Michael Buffer talks like that all the time? You know, he's in the morning and his wife sort of says, "Oh, Michael, what would you like for breakfast?" And he goes, "The ongoing battle continues. Will it be eggs? Will it be bacon? Let's get ready to scramble."
So let's be honest. Before we get into the LWF's marching on event, and I've almost got to address this, it's Michael Buffer. Would you expect anything else? Would you expect like Michael Buffer to be normal? I mean, listen, when Michael Buffer gets his newspaper in the morning, he's probably doing the same thing. When Michael Buffer's in the shower, he's probably saying the same things. I mean, it's Michael Buffer. It would almost be like totally different. I mean, if he was any other way.
Let's get ready to condition.
Well, certainly that's a lot to think about when it comes to Michael Buffer. Obviously, we can only hope to be one-third of the man of Michael Buffer, but be that as it may, I'm excited, Mikey Fitzgerald, as always, to have you, because marching on is going to be, again, if you thought the Lancashire Riot was great, if you thought the Winter of Discontent was great, wait till you see the Marching On here event that's upcoming this Saturday. But I want to set the tables because we spoke about this quite a bit with Wildfire Nate Reese, and I want to go right to the top, and that is our reigning, defending LWF champion who's going to be making his return here to the ring here. That is Reynaldo, and he's going to be in a tag team match, in a very intriguing tag team match, to say the least here. And he'll be in a match with the man that's the #1 contender currently, and that is Soner Durson. And Soner Durson, again, he's Soner Durson. And this is, again, going to be a dream match when those two actually are in the ring with each other. But they're going to be tag team partners upcoming this Saturday. So that is going to be, again, as intriguing as a match you're going to see here. So for our audience that's listening to this live here and on Sportswire Radio and sportnarium.com/player, set the tables for us on what we can expect this Saturday between Reynaldo and Soner Durson against the Merseyside Mercenary Squad.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a very intriguing match because, as you say, on the 16th of April at Slamaganza, Soner Durson and Reynaldo will meet for the LWF Championship. But before we can get there, they're going to actually be tag team partners against Dan Evans and Scott Oberman of the Merseyside Mercenary Squad on the 12th of March. So that's going to be a very interesting contest indeed. Because, you know, obviously I imagine Ray and Soner, they're both natural competitors. They'll both want to win that match. They'll both want to make sure that neither of them gets hurt, because you don't want to get hurt before the biggest match of your career. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. They're going to have to work together for their own sakes. And they're in there against, you know, a regular tag team. Soner Durson and Reynaldo are not a regular tag team. They've been thrown together by fate. Where Scott Oberman, Dan Evans, Cam Solis of Merseyside Mercenary Squad They're a unit. So they're going to be a well-oiled machine taking on, two great individual singles wrestlers. I mean, Ray has been a tag team wrestler in the past. Used to tag with Damon Lee over in Future Shock, and they were a very successful tag team, Wrestlock Rovers. But it's been a long time since he's been a regular tag team competitor. He's been going in the singles ranks. Ditto for Sonner. And now here they are. They're paired up together. So it's going to be, like I say, a really intriguing contest. And I don't really know how it's going to go. It's sad to say the favourites would probably be the Merseyside Mercenary Squad just because they've got experience of being a team. But Sonner and Ray are individually so talented that if they can find a way to work together, then they could just as easily win this match. So it's going to be a really, really interesting bout.
But something tells me, though, that how well can Reynaldo and Sona Dursun stay on the same page? Because think about it. Sona Dursun wants what Reynaldo has currently, and that's that World Heavyweight Championship. So my point is, how can Reynaldo, for now, the reigning defending world champion here in the LWF, the man who's at the top of the table, and Sona Dursun stay on the same page here?
Well, they're going to have to, because if they don't, there's a very good chance they won't just lose the match, but they'll get hurt. You don't mess with Dan Evans. You don't mess with Scott.
Dan Evans is literally wrestling all over the world.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've both been in Denmark recently, so they're wrestling all over the world. They're a highly regarded, highly respected tag team. Scott Oberman, my fellow Evertonian, he's probably having a bad night as I am now. I think, as last I checked, we were losing 5-0 to Spurs, so he's going to be in a bad mood anyway. So that's not going to be good news for Reynaldo and Sona Dursun. But again, if you're Scott Oberman, if you're Dan Evans, you're going to love a chance to beat Sona Dursun and Reynaldo. That's going to be big bragging rights, and they're going to hold nothing back. They're not going to do those two guys any favors. They don't care about Slamaganza on the 16th of April. They just want to win, and they'll do whatever they have to do to get it. So that means that if Ray and Sona want to make it to Slamaganza, then they're going to have each other's backs, because if they don't, the Mercs are going to make them pay. And that's what makes it such an interesting contest. Ray and Sona, if they don't get it right, they could not only lose, they could end up getting pretty badly banged up, and then maybe Slamaganza doesn't even happen. That's how serious this is. That's how dangerous the Merseyside Mercenary Squad are. And that's why Reynaldo and Sona Dursun are going to have to find a way to coexist and work together, because if they don't, it could end up being a bad news for both of them.
And something tells me also, Mikey, that the Merseyside Mercenary Squad are also going to want to prove something, because they're going to want a victory here over the world champion Reynaldo, and also Sona Dursun, a guy in his own right that has been at the top of the table, literally, because he's wrestled on a little TV show called Monday Night Raw in the past. Yes. So certainly the Merseyside Mercenary Squad, I think, are going to certainly have a lot to prove here, and they're going to definitely be motivated, because they're going to want wins over the current world champion and obviously Sona Dursun.
Well, this way, either you pin Reynaldo, who's the current LWF champion, and if he retains the title in April, you've pinned the champion, or you pin Sona Dursun, and Sona Dursun then goes on to win the title in April. You've pinned the champion before he won it. Either way, you can lay claim to perhaps being in title contention, or you could say that means that the Merseyside Mercenary Squad then deserve a shot at the tag team titles. It's a huge opportunity for them. They've got everything to gain and nothing to lose. This is the Merseyside Mercenary Squad. They're vicious and dangerous enough as it is already. Give them something like this, tangible, that they can grab, that they can touch, that they can make something happen. They're going to be even more dangerous. And again, that's why Ray and Sona, they're going to have each other's backs, because if they don't, it could get very ugly very quickly.
Something tells me that this is going to be an intriguing matchup, because there are so many variables here. And these are also reasons why you want to follow the LWF on Instagram at the LWF Wrestling. Also Twitter at LWF Thought. And also please like the Facebook page for the LWF, and also subscribe to the YouTube page, because something tells me, listen, we've had Reynaldo on here a couple different times in the past. So something tells me here that this is going to be a very, very intriguing match. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, there are several matches here that could be the main event. This is definitely one of those matches. And there's another match here that I want to get into, which I'm very, very curious for here. And certainly I want to get your thoughts, because it was also just recently announced, and that's Gia Adams and KT Hawkins. And KT Hawkins certainly, she certainly shocked, I guess, many, many people in the LWF, to say the least. especially at the Buckshaw Village Community Center, and obviously the finals of the LWF Lancashire Riot in terms of crowning our first ever women's world champion. So you got to talk to me, Mikey, and your thoughts on what we can expect here in KT Hawkins versus Gia Adams.
Well, yeah, for those who perhaps weren't aware, on the 12th of February, KT Hawkins, she turned her back. She put she stabbed a knife between the spine of the LWF fan base and betrayed Helena Razor. And as a result, Helena Razor ended up losing her opportunity to become the first ever women's champion. Jenny B ended up winning the title instead, and we'll get to her a bit later on, I imagine.
Oh, we will. Oh, we definitely will be.
So, KT Hawkins, we still don't really know the exact reason why she did what she did. I've been trying to get hold of her. We're hoping to eventually sit down with KT Hawkins and get her reasons for why she behaved the way she did. But in the meantime, she's been booked against Gia Adams. Gia Adams was incredibly impressive in the Lancashire Riot. She threw out, I think Steve Bibby said that she threw out a third of the entrants in the Lancashire Riot, went over the top rope at the hands of Gia Adams. She was incredibly impressive. And now Steve Bibby has made no bones about it. He's pretty much put this match together almost as a punishment to KT Hawkins for ruining the ending of the Lancashire Riot. She did.
It was almost the ending heard around the world, I felt.
Yeah. And he's put her in there with Gia Adams. It's going to be a fantastic contest. KT Hawkins, she was searching desperately for that win since we came back in August last year, and she wasn't able to get it. But she came close so many times, and she was so impressive in the ring. And you've got to think now she's going to have even more of a mean streak than she had previously, and that could make her even more dangerous. And Gia Adams, well, she was so impressive in the Lancashire Riot. It's going to be, I honestly can't call which way this is going to go. Steve Bibby's arranged it to be a punishment for KT Hawkins, but KT Hawkins, she might take these lemons and make some lemonade. So it's honestly, I can't wait to see what happens. I think KT Hawkins is not someone you want to sleep on. She was good. She was already good, and now she's going to be playing mean. But Gia Adams can look after herself, man. She's rock solid.
Gia
so this
Adams
is going to be great.
I mean, Gia Adams. I mean, you look at just in all the territories that she's been a part of. I mean, I would want no part of her either in the ring.
Oh no. No, I wouldn't even want to be. If I was booked against Gia Adams, I wouldn't even want to be in the same city as Gia Adams. I'd be on the first plane to Guatemala or somewhere. I'd be out of there. So KT Hawkins, she has a very unenviable task at hand to go after Gia Adams. And like I say, I'm not writing KT Hawkins off. It wouldn't shock me if KT Hawkins won, but it also wouldn't shock me if Gia Adams thwomped her, as they say.
Amazing.
So
let's just put it that way, because Gia Adams is going to certainly want to be back in the discussion for winning that LWF Women's Championship.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. She's going to want to be in title contention, yeah. And this will be a great way to fire her straight into title contention. If she can beat KT Hawkins and pair that with how good she was in the Riot itself, then yeah, Gia Adams should be looking at a potential title shot. So she's got a lot of motivation.
And not to tip your hand, I'm sure that Mr. Bibby might be a happy man if certainly Miss Adams were to decimate Miss Hawkins. Would that maybe be fair to say?
Well, I'm not going to speak too much for Steve, but all I will say is that he's put together a very, very good match. So he may have had the motivation of maybe putting Gia in there to show Katie what for, but regardless of the result, we're going to have a great match, I think. I'm really excited about it. I don't know if they've ever had a singles match before. I don't know if KT Hawkins and Gia Adams, they may have wrestled before, but as far as I'm aware, they haven't.
Maybe since the pandemic, I don't feel like that they've been in the ring. Is that kind of fair to say, you think?
Yeah, because they weren't in the ring in the Riot either, because Gia Adams was eventually eliminated before KT Hawkins entered the ring. So I believe it's if it's not a first time match, it's the first time the match has happened for a while. So it should be. I should have done that research and checked before I came on here, shouldn't I? Really, because it's a selling point. It's like, oh, first time ever. But regardless, even if it's not the first time ever, it's still going to be great, and you're going to want to be there on the 12th of March to see it, because it's going to be a fantastic contest.
Oh, something tells me again. This is another one of these matches that could arguably be the main event here coming up this Saturday for Marching On. And what's so good about this card, Mikey, is that you thought last month was a great card. You thought the following month before that. You thought each month that we do these cards get better and better and better. And I think this one, you've got literally the entire card could be a main event match. I mean, that's how good and how deep that this card here is. I mean, that's why I'm so excited and always excited here to speak about all the great things that the LWF is doing here. And another one of those matches that I'm really, really intrigued about and to get your thoughts on. And that's going to be the tag team title match. And obviously, we've spoke kind of a bit about this already in the past because the scenario Nathan Gunn has been on here and he's coming back once again this Friday, literally hours before his match. And certainly it was an interesting way to get that match. And certainly there was another way, I guess, that maybe, just maybe, the scenario Nathan Gunn finally won up Davey Getsky. But we are going to see the Blazing Guns versus the Wrecking Crew. Tag team championships are on the line here this Saturday. And the Wrecking Crew, as always, are going to be advertised. You know what they're going to do. Certainly, Mr. Getsky and Mr. Stone had a lot to say about this in the promo video for the Marching On event, which you can find on the LWF YouTube page. But set the tables for us because the scenario Nathan Gunn is going to be on here once again this Friday. And what we can expect in this match between the Blazing Guns and the Wrecking Crew for the Tag Team Championships.
Well, I'll do a little bit of history for people who aren't aware of the backstory. On the 8th of January, we had a show called Winter of Discontent, where we were to crown our first ever tag team champions. The quarterfinal bout was supposed to be David Getsky and Chris Stone taking on Nathan Gunn and Conrad Blaze, the Blazing Guns. The Wrecking Crew laid them out before the match even started and really did a real number on them, and including really hurting Nathan Gunn's leg. Now, the Blazing Guns bravely fought on, but obviously after that pre-match attack, they were defeated, even though they went down swinging. And at our previous show, Lancashire Riot, the 12th of February, they weren't able to compete due to, we thought, Nathan Gunn's seriously injured leg, and so instead they came out to do the raffle. Earlier in the night, when David Getsky and Chris Stone had wrestled in an 8-man tag, David Getsky hadn't had his tag team title belt, and he said it had been stolen. Obviously, we didn't know anything about that. It's David Getsky's responsibility to look after his belt. But during the raffle, it was revealed that Nathan Gunn had liberated the belt from David Getsky's locker room. Which led to Chris Stone and David Getsky coming out and demanding a match with Gunn and Blaze because they obviously, Nathan Gunn was on crutches and they thought it'd be an easy match. However, it was revealed that Nathan Gunn's leg was a lot healthier than he was letting on, at which point Getsky and Stone decided that perhaps they didn't want the match on the 12th of March. But by that point, they'd already said it. And Steve Bibby decided, seeing as you've asked for it, we're going to have it. So the Wrecking Crew are getting what they wanted. They are getting, they're not getting quite what they wanted. They've got outfought, should I say, outfought, and they might get outfought with a T, and they might get outfought with an F on the 12th of March when they take on the Blazing Guns. For the Blazing Guns, I'm actually happy for them that they're in the situation because they were robbed in January. They weren't given a fair crack at the tag team tournament. And now I think justice has been served in a lot of ways that they're getting their title shot. And they've got every chance of winning those belts. They are, every time the Blazing Guns compete, they're showing more and more continuity. They're showing more.
They're a good team. They've become a team. We didn't know when they first formed, and we had the scenario Nathan Gunn. I want to say maybe it was early December, right around when they formed. Was like November, December, right in that time frame. We didn't know what to expect from them. But you think about these past few months, and Blazing Guns have been very, very impressive. So you almost have to say they've got a good shot here in this match. I mean, if you would have asked me 3 months ago on Blazing Guns and the Wrecking Crew in a match, I don't know if I would have gave Blazing Guns a fair shot. But now I got to be honest, Mikey Fitz, I think they've got a shot here in this.
Yeah, and I'd love to see them win. I think a lot of the LUF fan base would like to see them win. They're both nice, charming lads. And they do things the right way inside the ring. They're not like the Wrecking Crew who are, let's face it. I mean, I'm not going to I'm not too bothered about saying this because they probably would agree. They're horrible people, and they like doing bad things. They like doing bad things to good people. And the Guns fell into that category. So, but the Guns, I think, would be a very honourable tag team champions, and I would like to see it happen. And hopefully, on the 12th of March, the Blazing Guns wrestle the best match they've ever wrestled, and that leads to them becoming the new LWF tag team champions, and only our second ever tag team champions in LWF history.
Well, something tells me, though, that the Blazing Guns have a lot to prove here. And one of those reasons why they might have a shot, of course, is because of Billy and Bart. I mean, listen, he's got Billy and Bart, the scenario Nathan Gunn. Something tells me because of Billy and Bart, just maybe this time, Billy and Bart are going to maybe give the Blazing Guns that advantage that they need here to get one over on the Wrecking Crew and become the second ever LWF Tag Team Champions.
Well, that's what Nathan's certainly hoping about. Oh, Nathan, what is he like? The stuff he comes up with, taking Billy and Bart to the OK Corral and all that sort of stuff.
How about the hat with the light, the backwards hat with the light?
Interview time with Nathan Gunn is always interesting.
I love the scenario Nathan Gunn. Regardless of the outcome, I love talking to the scenario Nathan Gunn. We just love having him on. I mean, it's a joy to have him on because you never know what he's going to say. You never know what he's going to come up with. And certainly he knows how to make a party. He is certainly the life of the party. There is no party without the scenario Nathan Gunn. You and I both know that.
Oh, he'll love you saying that. He'll have this moment framed on his fridge or something.
Nathan Gunn, by the way. They love the scenario Nathan Gunn.
Yeah, and I think let's not sleep on Conrad either. He's a good-looking dude as well.
I'm going to get in so much trouble for what I just said. I just have a big feeling about
They're a handsome duo. They're a handsome duo.
So I've heard. That's all I'm gonna say. So I've heard. But certainly, again, something tells me that they might pull this out here. They have a lot to prove here. I mean, there's a lot on the line, and sometimes when you're in a match like this where you have a lot on the line here, you might rise to an occasion here. And I kind of think, in a sense, this might be more about the Blazing Guns rising to the occasion, about whether the Wrecking Crew comes away or finds a way here. So something tells me here, Mikey Fitz, and closing about this match, and certainly we'll speak a lot more about it when the scenario Nathan Gunn here is with us on Friday, that I think that the Blazing Guns are going to have maybe a little extra pep in their step, and that might be enough for whatever dirty deeds or dastardly ways that the Wrecking Crew usually find themselves to be able to get one over on their opponents.
Well, fingers crossed we have new tag team champions, because I think the LWF fans would be very happy to see the Blazing Guns with those tag team titles, and I know Steve Bibby would find them much easier to work with than the Wrecking Crew.
Well, certainly Mr. Bibby obviously wants to work with our champions, and certainly in a productive and positive manner. And it's pretty safe to say, because we've had on Mr. Getsky a bunch of times. And in fact, I'm sure you're aware of that. Actually, Mr. Getsky invaded the scenario Nathan Gunn, one of his streams, with us here. So certainly the Wrecking Crew and Mr. Bibby, I don't think they necessarily work well together, but we'll certainly find out here, to say the least, coming this Saturday. And of course, again, if you like what you hear from the LWF, please follow the LWF on Twitter at LWF, the Instagram, the LWF Wrestling. Also subscribe to the YouTube page at LWF. Also the LWF's Facebook page. Please also like, and also Mikey Fitzgerald, who is literally the heart and soul of the LWF. I want everybody to give him a follow on Instagram as well. You can do so at that Mike Fitz 1878. So it's that Mike Fitz 1878. Also on Twitter, Mike Lovejoy Fitz. So it's two different handles, two unique handles. And those are reasons why that you need to follow him, to say the least, when it comes to all the latest on the LWF. And there is a lot to get to here. And another match that was just announced, and we're going to have him on here in a little while. And I have a feeling that he's going to have a lot to say about this, because he is in the first match that is announced here for the Castle Cup tournament. That is our very, very good friend, the Asset Stephen Cross, who I feel like in a lot of ways, Mikey Fitz, has really, I think, sort of impressed people, whether you like or dislike the Asset Stephen Cross. You cannot deny what he has done in the ring with the likes of a Jack Roberts, obviously unannounced, 2 out of 3 falls in replacing J-Mac, John McKinney, in that match against Lachlan Sharp. Obviously, that 6-man tag he was a part of with the Wrecking Crew against Shining Wizard. I mean, the asset Stephen Cross undeniably might have impressed more than any other wrestler here, I think, on this roster over the past several months. And he's going to be in a match here, and somebody who's making his debut. We know about him quite a bit when it comes to Future Shock Pro Wrestling, not so much in the LWF, and that is Chris Egan. So for our audience watching and listening to this, I mean, what's your impressions here? Castle Cup quarterfinals, our very good friend, the asset Stephen Cross against Chris Egan.
Well, I think with Steve Cross, him stepping up last month to wrestle Lachlan Sharp at pretty much zero notice to go and not just wrestle Lachlan Sharp.
We had him on hours before. We had no idea this was going to happen. All the asset Stephen Cross said was that he was going to be watching. He was going to be at the Buckshot Village Community Center. He was going to be backstage. There was no inclination. He didn't even give a clue that this was going to happen. I mean, this was really out of left field, to say the least.
Yeah, and he not only jumped in to wrestle Lachlan Sharp, which is, that's demanding enough, but he agreed to do a 2 out of 3 falls match as well at the last minute. He ended up entering a very impressive performance. I mean, that's the thing about Steve Cross. Every time he's wrestled in the LWF, he's been very impressive. And he's always, obviously he looks the part. He's in great shape, but he's also a fantastic competitor inside the ring as well. And I think Chris Egan is an opponent for him. Well, first off, to get Chris Egan in the LWF, that's huge. That's huge. As you mentioned, he's wrestled in Future Shock Wrestling. He's wrestled in Grand Pro Wrestling. He's basically, one of the most sought after guys on the entire British scene. And there's a reason, he's not only a very good competitor inside the ring, but he's also very charismatic. He's also just got a real sort of star quality to him. Just he's got a very magnetic personality. And I've known Chris since 2008. Chris, when I was actually in my wrestling days, Chris Egan actually played a big role in helping me wrestle. Like, he was actually at the training school. Dave Rain, Sam Bailey, and Chris Egan. Those are the 3 main guys who spent the most time training me and trying to get me ready for the ring. And I ended up having wrestling Chris in the ring a bunch of times, and those were really good experiences because, it's, to me, I mean, I'd been a fan of Future Shock before I even started training. And Chris had been, part of the shows from a very young age. I think Chris had been wrestling since he was 16, 17 years old on the Future Shock shows, dating back to something like 2005, 2006. So he's been doing this for a long time now. So he's got real veteran smarts. He's got his reps, shall we say, over the years. And to get him into the LWF is fantastic. And not only is he, entering into the LWF, he's going to be wrestling Stephen Cross. And the two have got such diametrically opposed personalities that I think it's just so interesting to see them battle. See these two, it's like it's chalk and cheese doing battle. That's maybe we should do that. Say it's the battle of chalk and cheese at the LWF on the top of the match. But it is it's chalk and cheese going at it, and that to me is styles make fights, personalities make fights. So having Chris Egan and Stephen Cross sort of do battle with one another is a really interesting situation for me, and I can't wait to see it. And both Steve Cross and Chris Egan, they would be people who, when you were looking at the bracket, you'd be thinking them as potential winners of the whole thing. So for them to meet in the first round in the quarterfinals, that's a big match. That's a big match. I really can't wait for it. I know Steve Cross is looking forward to it because he's looking forward to putting the old wrench in the works and beating Chris Egan and making a name for himself. And that's what you want. You want people to be hungry. You want people to be determined. You want people to really want to push themselves and achieve something. And that's what Steve Cross has been doing since day one. Like I say, you don't get, as Gorilla Monsoon used to say, you don't get a physique like that waiting for a bus. He's been putting the hours in, and now he's going to try and make that count when he wrestles Chris Egan. And Chris Egan will not be taking Steve Cross lightly. So this is going to be great. Can't wait for it. It's going to be. Ever since I knew this match was happening, I've been really excited.
I'm really excited for it also, and I don't really know how anybody could take the asset Stephen Cross slightly, considering, A, as you pointed out, the physique that he's in, and also just the type of matches that he's put on and how impressive he's been in all these different matches situations that he's been in. But you do speak about the fact that both wrestlers have a lot to prove, and these two guys could arguably win the Castle Cup. They are on such big runs at certain points in their careers, and I kind of think right now the asset Stephen Cross might be peaking at the right time, but he could very well lose this match here. I mean, how do you handicap an outcome here in a match like this? Because I could certainly make a case for both of them. Obviously, I'm impartial to the asset Stephen Cross, despite what those certainly at the Buckshore Village Community Center may feel. But I certainly feel like the asset Stephen Cross certainly might have an edge, but you could certainly, in terms of handicapping it, find it very difficult to figure out a winner here.
Well, it's always going to be tough to bet against someone like Chris Egan when considering he must have. I'm trying to do the maths in my head now. Everyone learns that I'm not very good at mental arithmetic. He has, well, if you started wrestling in 2005 and it's 2022 now, how many years is that?
17.
So 17 years of experience to draw from. And, this is a company, the LWF, he's conquered so many companies. This is a company he's yet to conquer. So he's going to want to, firmly establish himself in the LWF on his opening night. But with Steve Cross, what an opportunity. Like I say, he's probably one of the hungriest guys in all of British wrestling. He's really determined. He's really putting the hours in, and he's a very, very straightforward, very vicious competitor in the ring. There's no bells and whistles about Steve Cross. He's going to go in there and he's just going to beat you down, and he's going to beat you in the ring. That's his goal. That's what he wants to do. And he knows that if he can defeat Chris Egan, a lot of people are going to be talking about Steve Cross. They're going to be talking about the man who bumped off Chris Egan. Chris Egan, with all those years of experience, with all those years of success and big victories under his belt. Steve Cross beats Chris Egan. That's huge. But let me tell you this right now. Chris Egan, he really wants to win. He wants to win this Castle Cup. He wants to make his LWF debut count. And that's why it's going to be such a great match. It's going to be a great fight because these two guys both want to win. And like I say, personality-wise, they are diametrically opposed, and they're going to both be so eager to win. And that is why on the 12th of March, you're going to want to see Steve Cross against Chris Egan.
Oh, no question about it. And I almost feel Mikey Fitz, and certainly we'll speak with, no question, the asset Stephen Cross in a little while after our segment, that I feel like that this is the biggest match of the asset Stephen Cross's career. Am I wrong? Tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, you'd have to ask him, really. I mean, certainly I think it's the biggest match. You look at the guys he's wrestled in the LWF. He's wrestled, he hasn't wrestled Ham and Eggers. You know what I mean? He's wrestled.
No, that's my point, though.
He's wrestled. He's Jack Roberts, Lachlan Sharp, Shining Wizard. These are all name guys in the LWF. And now adding on top of that, you've got Chris Egan. I think you'd have to ask Steve Cross, but certainly as far as opponents go, Chris Egan is definitely someone with a real pedigree and with a real heritage and a real sort of standing in the industry. So that's something that Steve Cross is definitely going to be thinking about.
Oh, no question. And that's, again, I think you have to give a lot of credit, despite what some may feel about the asset Stephen Cross, is that look at what he's done in the ring. Look at who he's been in the ring with. It's not as if he's been in the ring with nobodies. I mean, Jack Roberts, Shining Wizard, certainly Lachlan Sharp, and look at how well he's proved himself, and look at how well he's impressed himself when it comes to the LWF. And again, these are reasons why you certainly want to follow the asset Stephen Cross in the LWF. And we are talking all things related here to the LWF as we are marching on, baby. We are marching on this Saturday to the big event here with arguably the heart and soul of the LWF, and that is our commentator, of course, our play-by-play man. That is Mikey Fitzgerald. I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And if you like what you hear from us on Sportswire Radio, please give us a follow anytime on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. And 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. And you can listen to many of our segments in the LWF with many on the roster. I think at this point, we've spoke with almost the entire roster. I mean, there's a few people out there that we probably haven't spoken to, but I would say pretty much at this point, almost 3/4 of the roster have come on the show and certainly come on the station. So I want to thank the entire LWF, the entire locker room for their support. I have been told that almost in some form or another, the locker room has listened to these interviews. They've listened to these segments. So I'm very, very grateful for that. So,
you're the talker. You're the talk of shows, Thomas. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, everyone, I'm certainly glad it's not 3-count radio or BBG wrestling. Oh, I'm getting in trouble for that.
Oh dear! You're starting a feud. You're starting the radio wars right here. No. Like when at shows, people say like because I mean people who like I have friends who like who aren't even in the LWF who will message me and say that they've been on the show and stuff and they've listened to it. So. Yeah, you are the talk of the show. Everyone's talking about the Reverend Tom Bryce. Yeah, and now they want to be, and now they all want to be on your show. So you know, might get some more people.
At this
You're
point,
in demand.
At this point, I mean, there really isn't anybody that I think that hasn't not want to come on. I mean, no seriousness. I mean, we're gonna get to somebody next who's also making his debut in the LWF who I've had on a bunch of different times, but it does seem like at this point that, I mean, like I said, almost the entire roster, and certainly I've heard Helena Razor told me once, again, off the record, Helena Razor told me that when we were off the air, that almost people in the locker room listen to these things. So I certainly appreciate the support, and I certainly appreciate that everybody's given us an opportunity here. And again, these are reasons why you need to follow the LWF, most importantly on Instagram at the LWF Wrestling, also Twitter, LWF. I cannot stress that enough. Please follow the LWF because they have supported me. They have supported Sportswire Radio. So I am forever grateful for, as always, the support of Mikey Fitzgerald and, of course, Steve Bibby. And I think I've got a comment here that I'm actually going to share here from somebody.
I'm trying to read the comments. Is this on Facebook, is it, or is it on Twitter?
It's on Facebook, and certainly there's somebody that might be known in the LWF. I don't want to reveal the individual, but he says, the number one. So for that individual that might be a fan of the LWF, because we've kind of popped on his comment, we're going to say the number one pro wrestling company, the LWF. So that one's for you, certainly. You know who you are, my friend. You certainly are. That's going Bob to be Costin. Well, I was trying not to blow his cover because we do realize we sort of are in gimmick and in person here in professional.
Well, I mean, he's put a picture of himself at the show in an LWF shirt, so he's kind of he's giving himself an uphill struggle there, hasn't he? Really?
I was trying to help him. I was still at least trying to go along and not blow his cover. So certainly,
we love you, Bob. We love you.
Got another comment from this individual, and he says, "Nate Reese Stooge won't say my name." I think he's referring to me. I think for you, sir, I'm actually trying to help you. Because, as you know, most professional wrestlers...
Well, all the screaming fans are going to come after him now. Like, all the people going, it's Bob Costin! It's the Costinator!
I think that most professional wrestlers want to be known by their wrestling name. So, clearly, for you, and I'm doing you a favor, that I'm actually trying to help you not blow your cover, not blow your identity. So, if you'd like to address that, certainly at a later date, and you'd like to come back on here and you'd like to do one of these video streams, certainly from a fan's perspective, I would be more than happy to have you. But certainly, I mean, there is a picture there of somebody that is a wrestler in the LWF, certainly that we do talk about here quite a bit. But certainly, I'm trying to help you. So if you'd like to say you are that maybe wrestler that's on your picture, by all means, but I'm actually trying to do.
Actually, no. On second thoughts, that doesn't appear to be Bob Costin. It appears to be. Oh, is that Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, or is it no?
And certainly, we have another follow-up comment here. He says, "All good, Mr. Bryce. Big ups to number one. Certainly, we love you too as well. And trust me, I know that. I guess I'm trying to put this in the nicest way. Your wrestler alias." Bob Costin is sort of feuding with, I guess sort of is putting it nicely, Wildfire Nate Reese, who we're going to speak with later on. But we love you too, obviously. In all seriousness, we loved having you on. a while back, and would love to have.
Everyone loves the Costinator. Come on now, it's the
We like-
Costinator. How can you not love the Costinator?
I do want to say that I like Bob Costin. I mean, certainly this fan is certainly very well adversed with Bob Costin. I like Bob Costin too. If it was up to me, I'd like to see Wildfire Nate Reese and Bob Costin just get on the same page and just move on. I mean, nobody wants to see what's going on between those two. So to be fair, I agree with the Bob Costin picture, certainly for this fan. I'm trying to put this in as light-hearted terms as possible. But since this individual knows Bob Costin very well, I mean, I almost have to ask you before I get to that wrestler's debut in the LWF. I mean, what did you certainly make of Wildfire Nate Reese and Franco Varga in the ring? It didn't seem like that Mr. Reese held up too well in that. What was your impression?
I thought Nate did very well, actually. I actually thought that was a really good match. I do want to give a shout out to Franco Varga because he was an absolute gentleman.
Absolutely.
An absolute gentleman. And it was really great to have him in the LWF. And for him to come out there and to answer Nate Reese's challenge, I thought that was fantastic. And I thought Nate acquitted himself well. I think, at the end, he didn't. This is annoying because in the actual match itself, I thought he fought very well, and he almost had a chance to beat.
In the match. He
had some moments in the match, yeah, and but then he decided to take the less than honourable way out, shall I say? And in the end, he ended up getting Franco Varga'd. So when all was said and done. But no, Franco Varga, absolute gent. Took training at the LWF Academy prior to the show, and he nothing but 5-star reviews from everyone. They all thought he was a wonderful guest trainer. Everyone had nothing but positive things to say about him. At the show, he conducted himself as a real gentleman. He was very respectful and nice to everyone. It was great to have him in. It's always good when you have a guest star, so should I say, like Franco Varga, to come in and treat the LWF with respect, and it was nice. It was nice for us to have him in our home, should I say? So it was a wonderful guest to have, and obviously all the best to him. And genuinely, he's if you're WWE, if you're AEW, if you're Impact Wrestling, if you're one of the major companies in Japan, he should be on your radar if he's not already, because he's really good.
Yeah, I feel like he would be such a perfect fit in either AEW or Impact. I mean, WWE.
Or even the new ROH, because Tony Khan's going to do ROH now, hasn't he? So, Franco Varga in ROH, that'd be fantastic.
I mean, do we count that as AEW? Do we really count it as ROH? I really hope, for one thing, and I'll get to a Franco Varga point in a second, but I just hope that whatever Tony Khan does with ROH, it's better than what Vince McMahon did with WCW, and certainly the ill-fated ECW relaunch years back.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think he's going to have ROH invade, is he? He's just going to have ROH as its own thing. It's trying to get.
I would hope he does. I would hope.
I mean, because originally WCW was, when WF bought WCW in 2001, they were supposed to give WCW its own show, and I think the reason they couldn't is because I think there was a contractual thing with TNN where TNN wouldn't give up exclusivity, so they couldn't do WCW, and that's why it didn't end up working out. And then, of course, they decided, right, well, we can't give them their own show.
Well, I think it also had to do with the fact, if you remember, Buff Bagwell and Booker T had a match that was so bad that.
Well, that was after. Well, that's when they decided to try and integrate it into the show, and it didn't work very well.
Yeah, I think at that point it was not happening. After that, and then I think when Chronic wrestled The Undertaker and Kane, that was like the next rung. It was like, okay,
that was
gonna work.
That was September, wasn't it? That was Unforgiven.
Yep.
Unforgiven 2001. And the only thing is, I was a big fan of Chronic in WCW. I thought they were great.
Me too.
I didn't get any of the references that were being made by them being called Chronic, of course. But how they talk about how they were going to smoke their opponents. Oh, thank you very much, Gareth Thompson.
And of course, that is the reigning, defending GT Ministries world champion, otherwise known as Gareth Angel. So certainly want to give him a shout out, because
I think he'll be fighting the BTW champion, the Rabbit, soon, won't he? I believe
they're going to be fighting March the 19th at GT Ministries. And certainly that might be a cue that we might be speaking with the world champion again here, because we spoke with him a few weeks ago, right before that contract signing he had with Jack Johnson. So something tells me here that we're being invaded, I think, by the reigning defending GT Ministries champion. That's probably a setup for us that we're going to be speaking with the champion in the near distant future. So the champ knows how to promote.
He does indeed. Oh well, if you're a champion, it comes with the territory, doesn't it?
True.
Ric Flair was always the best self promoter, wasn't he?
He certainly did, and he promoted himself in other ways that we can't repeat.
I'll tell you what, he was a great world champion, actually. Nick Aldis, I thought, was the NWA champion.
Absolutely.
He deserves a shout out. I thought he carried himself like a world champion.
And he carried himself like an NWA champion.
Yes,
Nick
he did.
Aldis looked like an NWA old school world champion.
He looked like Buddy Rogers, didn't he? Like Buddy Rogers, like Lou Fairs. He had that sort of look about him. You know what I mean? Like he carried himself like the NWA champions of old, and he wrestled the part as well. He looked the part and he wrestled the part.
And he was a great ambassador for the NWA. You think about a world champion. A world champion should always be an ambassador for your company. And certainly, Gareth Angel does a phenomenal job with that. Reynaldo does a phenomenal job with that. And I think of Nick Aldis and his run, and I listened to a number of his interviews on Busted Open Radio, and I listened to a number of his different interviews out there. And in terms of being an ambassador for the NWA, and you think about the NWA and the legacy that the NWA has, and certainly the NWA had some hard times, to say the least, but Nick Aldis, I really felt, brought the NWA back, and what you think about when it comes to an ambassador for your company as a world champion. And Nick Aldis, to me, was the quintessential definition of that.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, what's it? The 10 pounds of gold. Like whenever I got a chance to see the NWA product, like for a while it was on YouTube, wasn't it? You could watch it every week. NWA Power with all the R's. And I enjoyed it.
Is somebody wanting me to say that? The NWA Power.
It was a fun throwback to how it used to be. I think that, and I think the thing is as well is like it was doing something that no one else was really doing, and I liked that. And I think variety is the spice of life. I think, you've got WWE over here doing their thing. AEW's doing their thing. You got MLW doing this.
Impact.
ROH, Impact. And then the NWA had their own little niche as well that they were doing. And, and they've recently started booking Colby Carino, who wrestles in your neck of the woods for Catalyst Wrestling.
Yep.
And Colby Carino is incredible. I'm a big fan of his dad. I was a big Steve Carino fan.
Yep, we've talked about that in the past, I think.
Yeah, and Colby's great as well. Like, if you talk about like sort of dream people, if someone said to me like, okay, you can book some guys from outside the LUF, who would you like to fly over? Like, if someone said to you, right, we'll fly him over for free, and you can wrestle on your show, but like, Colby Carino, please. He's that good. Can you imagine him against David Getsky or Reynaldo or Nick Cutter or Aton Steen or all these other guys? It'd be fantastic. Or Sonny Durson and Colby Carino. That'd be fantastic. That'd be great. But yeah, I regularly check out Catalyst Wrestling over on YouTube because they're in your neck of the woods, aren't they? They're in the New York area.
Yep.
Really like their product. Always keep an eye out for it. I've spoken to a couple of times to Ash Samuels, who's involved with keeping the lights on there. So as they say, and I think they do a great job, and I really enjoy it.
That's such a way to put it. Keeping the lights on, basically.
Keeping the lights on. They keep the lights on. Yeah, they keep the lights on. Keep it running. Yeah, no, it's really good. So if you Homicide wrestles with them as well. So obviously, if you live in the New York area and you want to check out some great live wrestling, Catalyst Wrestling is a place to go. I
have sort of a funny, well, not so funny Homicide story real quick. Then I want to get to a Franco Varga point, which kind of ties
Homicide 187.
There was somebody I know that was an independent wrestler here in Staten Island, actually, and he was sort of like I think of him like an LWF type of world champion. And he actually was very good friends with Homicide. And he actually was in the ring with Homicide. And he said that being in the ring with Homicide is like being in front of a homicide. It's that's the punishment that he brings in the ring. So that was kind of the funny story. So after I heard that, it was like, well, I guess I'm not going to be in the ring with Homicide anytime soon. But I did hear from somebody and what it was like that was had a homicide, and that was certainly Mr. Tracy White. So obviously, shout out to Mr. White. In fact, if he's ever listening, I don't even know where he is at this point because it's been so many years since
Tracy White, you get in the ring with homicide.
And that's how he spoke. Do you know what the funny thing about Tracy White? He spoke kind of like that. He was like, he had this big facial hair. He always had a cigar, and he was like one of these wrestlers, like old school throwback wrestlers. He would have been a very good wrestler on the UK wrestlers. He would have been a good fit in. But I do want to ask you about Franco Varga quickly because we spoke about Colby Carino and some of these other types like a Nick Aldis, but Franco Varga's been in the ring with some of these big names like an EC3, like a Chris Masters, like a Carlito, TJ Perkins upcoming, and all these different wrestlers. And having him at the academy, leave aside what he did with Nate Reese. I mean, how big is that for the company that Franco Varga can pass his knowledge and being in the ring with those wrestlers to maybe motivate the next class of up-and-coming talent here in the LWF?
Well, what was great about it as well is we have a few of the lads in training who are the heavyweights. You know, we have a mixture of wrestlers. Some are lighter weight fighters. Some of them are more heavyweight based wrestlers. So for them, having Franco Varga come in, you know, he can take things from a completely different perspective. You know, we've had Joey Hayes at the training school recently, and he's an excellent wrestler. Sure. He can provide one sort of area of it, but like Franco Varga knows what it's like to be a big man, and I think that the big men wrestlers in training, I think specifically, really found it very useful and very helpful to have a fellow big man there who could maybe look at things from a different perspective. But again, like I say, like I asked everyone who was in that training session because I came by to the school just to talk to Steve about something, and I witnessed quite a lot of the session. It was an excellent session. And then I spoke to everyone afterwards, and they could not have been more full of praise for what a great job he did, and just his general personality is he just came across as like a really good dude. You know what I mean? And he didn't have any ego about him or any flair, airs or graces. He was just, you know, he's respectful. As long as you're respectful for him, he was respectful to you back. And it was great to have him. And, you know, this is the thing. It's why I'm so glad we got Chris Egan coming to wrestle for the LWF. And we've got people like Sonny Durson coming in. You know, experienced people who are not just great wrestlers, but they're also great personalities to have around because they do things the right way. And they have put the time in. And it's good to have that. You want people like Franco Varga and Chris Egan and Sonny Durson and Joey Hayes and Danny Hope. You want these people, Dan Evans, you want these people in your company because of the experience they have and because of how they carry themselves and how professional they are and how willing they are to, you know, help others and to go out there and steal the show and have great matches because it's not just a paycheck for them, you know. Franco Varga came in. He wrestled Nate Reese, and he wasn't taking it easy. You know, he was treating Nate Reese like you treat any other opponent because he, you know,
Nate told us all about it.
It mattered to him. You know, it was important to Franco Varga that he was in the LWF and he got to win and that he got to compete at his highest level. And you know, that's worth its weight in gold. You know what I mean? It really is.
Absolutely, no question about it. And again, it was an honor for us to speak with Franco Varga before he was to embark on his long trip here in the UK. So shout out as always to Franco Varga, certainly the biggest wrestler around. And certainly it was an honor to see him in the LWF, even though it was against Wildfire Nate Reese. But I do want to get to somebody that has been on the show here a bunch of different times, and he's actually making his debut in the LWF. And this is a guy that when I think of wrestlers that have really made a name for themselves since the pandemic, and they've been arguably on one of the biggest runs, and it's almost long overdue that he's going to be in the LWF. And that is, of course, none other than 2-Bit. Obviously, 2-Bit, I mean, you think about what he's done in Odyssey Pro Wrestling and BWR and Catch Pro Wrestling in his match, obviously, with Chris Ridgway and KOW, where he is the world champion. And he's going to be in a tag team match with Big Guns Joe. And again, Big Guns Joe, we've spoke about quite a bit here in the past and quite a bit on this show. They're going to be in a tag team match against the Masked Marauder and Desperadza. So I hope I said that correctly.
Disfrazada.
disfrazada. So
to do it properly, it's disfrazada.
I don't think I could quite pull that off, Mikey Fitz. So I'm gonna at least try to go.
I used to love that. That used to be. I always remember Rocky Romero's introduction in Mexico. He was azúcar, Rocky Romero.
I'm gonna get so much trouble for this, but I don't know if you guys had it in the UK, but the WWF used to have a show they used to show on. We used to have Univision here, Telemundo.
Oh, was this Super Astros? Was it?
That's it. And I used
we
to.
We didn't get it, unfortunately. No, we used to get, for a brief period, we got CMLL.
Okay.
So we got that briefly with like Ultimo Guerrero and Atlantis and all that sort of stuff.
We did have CMLL, but my problem was when I would watch it, because the Spanish TV Telemundo, like the TV volume would go up so loud, my mother would get so mad. Like, what are you doing? Having on all this Spanish noise and such. So what wound up happening was I would just either put it on mute or just turn it off. But Super Astros we had for a while, and that reminds me of the Spanish announce team. We used to call all that stuff the Spanish only WWF storylines that they had. I want to say it was maybe about 2 years. I think Super Astros ran for about maybe 2.5 years at most.
Well, the problem is they used to tape it before Shotgun, didn't they, as well? So like they're having all this Spanish only product in front of like people in Dayton, Ohio, who are like, who are these guys with a mask on doing all the flippy-doos? You know, it's never going to work, was it?
I think those were the days that if you went to a Raw taping, you were there for like 4 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah, because we had Raw, Shotgun Saturday night, Sunday night Heat, Super Astros. I'm sure there was something else. Superstars. I'm sure that they were still doing matches for Superstars.
I think Superstars was off by 97, I think. 96, 97. They replaced it with Shotgun. Then it became Jack. Then it became Full Metal. But you had for a brief period.
Jack to Metal. And then Velocity.
Yeah, Velocity. So I think.
I used to love Velocity. I used to watch Velocity all the time because you just get like occasionally you get like
a good match. Occasionally
you get like it'd be the usual stuff. It'd be like, but you get fun stuff. You get like Mike Awesome wrestling Mark Henry, and you just like, this is a match I never thought I'd see.
Times, yeah.
And like
Pattern used to get
Regal, and obviously Paul London and Jimmy Yang, Akio as he was known. They had some of the best matches that like. Like I remember staying. I think it was on 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday here in the UK on like Sky Sports 4. It was on the Sky Sports channel that no one watched.
We had it. I think we either had it at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock because for a while they played Confidential. So I think it was either Confidential was first or Confidential came right afterwards. So yeah, we had it right around the same time. I think it was Saturday nights. I know it was definitely Saturday nights. I remember watching it. And I think it was either 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. In fact, I think it was 10 or 11 o'clock. Because I remember even there was a period where TNA used to run, I think, on Spike TV at 11 o'clock on Saturday nights here in America. It would either show the replay or they would play a special at 11 o'clock because they had UFC for a long time. So you get like UFC and TNA kind of thrown in together in some lump or another. So yeah, those were interesting the days, but we are going to see again the Masked Marauder and Disfrazada, whatever Disfrazada. I mean, so we're going to try to get this right. I hope it doesn't take me as long as figuring
out. And their tag team name is Los Lancadores. So they live
Los Lancadores is much better. I'm just going to go with Los Lancadores because I can figure that one out. So we're going to go with Los Lancadores against Big Guns Joe and 2-Bit. Again, 2-Bit I know very well. 2-Bit, listen, he's certainly an angry guy. I don't know what I'm going to expect here at 2-Bit. So you're going to tell me on what we can expect with 2-Bit in the LWF because I know 2-Bit very, very well here. So I don't need an introduction on 2-Bit. So tell me what's going to go on here between Big Guns Joe, 2-Bit, and Los Lancadores.
Well, Los Lancadores, they made their LWF. Well, we'd had Disfrazada before, and he'd been wrestling as a single.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard the name.
And then in the tag team tournament, we needed a team because unfortunately, I believe Synergy was due to wrestle the models, and the models unfortunately weren't able to take part. So then Lachlan Sharp said he was going to find himself a partner, and then unfortunately Lachlan Sharp was unable because the Backstreet Boys reunion tour was going strong at the time, and that led to Dis Rosada coming just saying that he had someone and that he was going to be there, and it was the Masked Marauder. And they are two mysterious masked men. We know a bit more about Dis Rosada. Dis Rosada used to wrestle. He was originally from Belize, but he has since moved to Lancashire. And we don't actually know where the Masked Marauder was originally from. His hometown he told us he is from roughly 20 miles west of Dudleyville and 10 miles south of parts unknown. So if you can find that on a map, that's where the Masked Marauder has come from. But him and Dis Rosada work well as a team. They are mysterious masked. Oh, number one, Anthony J. Finkel.
That's a very good friend of mine who, in fact, this Friday we have a promo that we're actually debuting on behalf of his business. So he's checking in. So I have to give a very, very huge shout out for Anthony J. Finkel. And I'm going to do it because I get requested for it all the time. Number one business, DPH Property Services. So that's for you, Anthony. That's a clue for
DPH Property Services.
They do
DPH Property Services. They are in your area. And they are not to be trifled with.
No,
sorry, Anthony. Sorry, Anthony. Well. But yeah, Anthony J. Finkel and what was it? DPH Properties.
Yep. I wouldn't mess with them either. They're big men and they have a big team. And when it comes to any construction pickup or when it comes to garbage pickup or maintenance, debris, you name it, these guys do it. When it comes to snow removal, when it comes
to fix roofs.
What's that?
Can they fix roofs? Can you get them on a plane to come over here and sort the roof out for me?
They can do anything.
Well, that is why. Then, if are they operating in the New York area? Is that where they usually operate?
They're all over the place, but I'm sure for the price is right, knowing Anthony, Big Fink, as they call him in our neck of the woods, he'll come over to the UK if the project and the price is right.
Well, if you need something, get in touch with Big Fink.
He's a big man. He's a very, very big man. I can tell you literally. He looks like he would be a great wrestler, by the way. He's got the size. He's got the look. He's got the strength. I mean, I'm probably embarrassing him right now, but he definitely could. Maybe you guys could use. Maybe Mr. Bibby could use a guy like Anthony Finkel. Maybe he could use him.
Hey, Anthony Finkel, you want to come over to the UK? You'll be welcome at every LWF event.
If the job is, I told you. See, I know him well, and in fact, Anthony Finkel. I'm going to get in so much trouble for saying this. When it comes to the new promo we're going to debut Friday, he offered to pay me, and I'm like, no, absolutely not. We're friends. Listen, just keep supporting me. Just come on the streams and say number one. That's the payment enough. So we don't take money from those who support us. We only promote those who support us, and that's what our job is here. So if the price is right, Mr. Bibby, if you are listening, listen, I've got a great job for DPH Property Services. If we need to set up the ring coming up this Saturday at the Buckshot Village Community Center, if we need getting the ring together at the Buckshot Village Community Center this Saturday, DPH Property Services would be the perfect people that I could think of that Mr. Bibby could shell out some of the pounds for. So maybe we could take away some of 2-Bit's salary to hire.
Oh, no. 2-Bit's not going to be happy with that. But yeah, DPH Property Services. They are a fine group of people.
They are very fine individuals. They are
a fine group of people, and I would give them the official Mike Fitzgerald thumbs up, and good luck to them. And I'll be interested to see what the promo is on Friday.
Well, you'll be sleeping, so we'll post the clip on Instagram and Twitter. We'll tag you on it because I'll make sure you hear it. Trust me, because I think people are going to want to hear the promo. We'll definitely do that. But I mean, when it comes to this tag team match in 2-Bit, you have to talk to me about 2-Bit, what you think, because I've had him on a bunch of times, and he's an interesting, to quote the phrase of Alice Cooper, he's an angry young man, to say the least. I mean, what are we expecting from 2-Bit?
Well, it's funny because he refers to himself as the Rat King, obviously.
Yes, he's the Rat King. He was the King of Chaps at one point. He was the Gangsta Lord. I mean, he's had a lot of names, 2-Bit. A lot of names I've had to read off over the past.
But the
I know
fans,
him very, very well.
but the fans call him the Rat Boy to wind him up, don't they? I'm like, the Rat Boy's Yoshinari Ogawa. There's no shame being the Rat Boy. I love Yoshinari Ogawa. He's fantastic. But no, I think the interesting thing about 2-Bit as well is how are him and Big Joe going to work together as a unit? Because Big Joe, I've known Big Joe for quite a while.
Yes.
And I'm hugely impressed with Big Joe, actually, and 2-Bit as well. I think both of them are very... I was at the recent Future Shot Wrestling show on the 13th of February, which might be available now on their streaming service if you want to check it out. 2-Bit took on Dynamite Lee in a fantastic match.
I saw some of that, yeah.
I was very impressed, and Big Joe was in a tag team match against the Worst. So both of them have shown what they can do between the ropes. The only thing I can think of is Mass Marauder and Disrasada, Los Lancadors, have, or shall I be saying Los Lancadores? I'm not sure, but
I'm never going to be able to pronunciate that.
Yeah, Los Lancadores, but yeah. But would have more chemistry as a team because they've teamed together more often. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I think I'm actually very interested to see how 2-Bit and Big Guns Joe coexist as a team. Because obviously, if you call yourself the Rat King and Big Guns Joe, chances are you've got a little bit of ego to you. So is that going to make it work in a tag team setting? Are they going to gel well together, or are they going to butt heads?
This is what I think. 2-Bit is not known as a tag team wrestler. I've had on 2-Bit. Again,
he's not a people person, is he?
He not a people person. That's putting it very kindly. I mean, certainly, I'm sure 2-Bit would certainly have a different opinion on that, but certainly 2-Bit is, how can I put it? He's a very interesting guy. He's a very unique individual in the wrestling world. He is certainly somebody, though, I will say, that is very dangerous. He's very deadly, especially with the Rat Trap, and he's certainly positioned himself as one of the guys that is going to continue to be a guy you're going to hear about for quite a bit and for a very, very long time. So a very, very intriguing matchup. And I always kind of knew this day was going to happen for whatever reason, that 2-Bit was going to be in the LWF. Just for whatever reason, he's literally been everywhere at this point. So, I mean, listen, I'm just not surprised that 2-Bit is here, but certainly for the safety of his opponents, I certainly hope that they don't anger him. And let's certainly see, though, between him and Big Guns Joe, because part of me does think that how long can those guys work well together? And that does seem like a very, very combustible relationship, to say the least. And we are talking all things related here to the LWF. I'd say about 15 or 20 minutes with, of course, the heart and soul of the LWF. That is our very, very good friend, Mikey Fitz. And we're having a great time here. I feel like each time I'm having a better and better time here with Mikey Fitz. That's why we do it here each and every month here before the upcoming LWF events. And, of course, if you like what you hear from Mikey Fitzgerald, please give him a follow on Instagram at @MikeFitz1878. That's @MikeFitz1878. Also on Twitter as well at Mike Lovejoy Fitz. And if you want to give him a friend request on Facebook, Michael Fitzgerald. So those are the things you want to do. And of course, the LWF, you can follow anytime on Twitter at LWF, Instagram, the LWF Wrestling. Also, please like and subscribe to the YouTube and Facebook pages the LWF has, because there's a lot of great content, a lot of great footage, a lot of great stuff going on here. Very, very excited here because we are marching on to Saturday's event with, obviously, Mikey Fitzgerald. And I want to get to this match. It's going to involve, obviously, our women's champion, our first ever women's champion, sort of to close out some of the card here. And again, such an intriguing situation here. And obviously, our current champion, Jenny B, and she's going to be in the ring here with Aurora Tevis, and we've spoke about Aurora Tevis here in the past quite a bit with Wildfire Nate Reese and the Acid Stephen Cross. And Jenny B, certainly, again, a very controversial champion, to say the least. I mean, arguably one of the most controversial champions in recent memory, and she is our first ever women's champion here in the LWF, and she'll be in a tag team match against Lana Austin, who's no stranger to the scene here in professional wrestling, and obviously our very good friend Helena Razor. We had Helena Razor on here over a month ago, and always love to see Helena Razor out there in the ring. I'm Fortunately, though, she did come up short in controversial fashion for becoming our first ever women's champion. So, Mikey Fitz, I mean, this arguably could be the main event. I mean, forget about Becky Lynch, forget about Bianca Belair, forget about Charlotte Flair, and forget about Ronda Rousey. I've got Lana Austin, Helena Razor, and a tag team match against the current champion, Jenny B, and Aurora Tevez, and set the tables for those who are coming out to the Buckshot Village Community Center this Saturday on what they can expect.
Well, first of all, this is a chance for Helena Razor to get a measure of revenge because not only did Jenny B defeat her to become the first ever women's champion, Aurora Tevez was helping Jenny B out. They have formed an alliance, it would seem. We've been sort of calling them B and T, and they are not. They are not, and they seem to be.
Somebody have a BLT and forget the L.
B and T, but they are, individually they're both very talented wrestlers. So put them together, and you've got a very, very dangerous prospect in your hands. And it really seems like they must have concocted some sort of agreement before they even entered the LWF Lancashire Riot, because they were working like a hand in glove. They were really working well together, and they decided to keep teaming. So that will be a real issue for Lana Austin and for Helena Razor. But Helena Razor and Lana Austin, they both have a great amount of respect for one another. Lana Austin's going to want to pick up a victory so she can get herself in title contention. Helena Razor is going to want to pick up a victory so that she can get some revenge for what happened to her at the Lancashire Riot. And I think it's going to be a really, really good match. I think it's going to be a really exciting match. I think I'm not sure how it's going to go, really. Again, like if either Lana Austin or Helena Razor scores a pinfall victory in this contest, then you have to think that they will be in contention for a title shot. And if Jenny B and Aurora Tevez, if B and T can pick up the victory, then they can conceivably take two challenges out in one go. It's the old two birds with one stone scenario. So there's a lot at stake. There's a lot up for grabs here. And I think it'll be an emotionally charged bout. And I think it's going to be one of the highlights of the show on the 12th of March at Marching On.
So do I. And I think, again, another reason why this could be a match that could easily be the main event. I mean, almost the entire card itself. But let me ask you a question, and it's a similar one to the one we saw with Reynaldo and Sona Durson, because we know that Jenny B and Aurora Tevez are allies at the moment. You talked about B and T and certainly forgetting the L. But all kidding aside here, when it comes to Lana Austin and Helena Razor, can we count on them to be allies throughout that match? Because in a way, sort of like Reynaldo and Sona Durson, we think of them as singles wrestlers, and they might have an eye on the same prize, and that's Jenny B's World Championship.
No, I think Lana Austin and Helena Razor will have each other's back. I do. I think they'll back each other up. I think ultimately, even if it doesn't really matter if Lana Austin or Helena Razor, if they are victorious, which one scores the pin. If they're victorious in that sort of tag situation, it's going to raise both of their stocks up, and it's going to put them both in a position where they can potentially look at getting title shots in the future. Helena Razor is obviously going to want to get even with Katie Hawkins, so that might be her main priority at the moment. And she's in this match this time to try and get some revenge on Tevez and Jenny B, after which she can then focus on Katie Hawkins after that point. But I don't see any reason why Lana Austin and Helena Razor can't work together. I think they are striving for the same outcome. They both want to stick one on B&T and right some wrongs from the Lancashire Riot. So yeah, I don't think there'll be any issue there. I think they'll have each other's backs.
So this will be a slightly different situation than when it comes to Reynaldo and Sona Durson, because something tells me in that situation that those guys may not trust each other, and Reynaldo is going to certainly be watching his back. But in this case here, Lana and Helena are allied because they do have a common goal in Jenny B. Okay, so that's certainly fair points, and that's certainly going to be a great match in itself, because, listen, at the end of the day, those are great wrestlers. And again, these are reasons why we were very, very excited about the card here. And Is there anything else related to the card that maybe we've missed or haven't covered? I mean, I do think about a
Well,
couple of. Go ahead, jump in.
I'm in a situation where I can announce a few matches. Actually, they haven't actually been announced on social media yet, but I had a word with Steve Bibby earlier.
Oh,
And
Mr. Bibby was very happy that you're on, I hope.
yeah, he is indeed. Yeah, I'm just checking actually.
Give him my regards then, Mr. Bibby. Obviously, he's been on the show here quite a bit, and we've obviously spoken with each other quite a bit here over the past several months. So certainly always happy to know that Mr. Bibby is happy with us, because sometimes I know with Mr. Reese and Mr. Cross, I know he's usually not so happy with them.
Well, I've just there's one match I can confirm. I can confirm. This has already been announced, but both Clash and Aton Steam will be competing in the Castle Cup.
Okay.
Their opponents will be announced in the coming week.
Okay.
And they are on. What I can tell you is they are on opposite end of the brackets, and their goal is for them to reach the final so that they can have an all Shining Wizard final. So the way it's going to work is we'll have the quarterfinals on the 12th of March at Marching On, and then the semi-final and finals will take place on the 16th of April at Slamaganza.
Okay.
So they will both be in action. A match that I can officially announce is happening. One of the quarterfinals is going to be Nick Cutter defending his cup, trying to retain the Castle Cup after winning it last year. And his quarterfinal opponent will be Lachlan Sharp, who defeated Steve Cross in a 2 out of 3 falls match. So that is, as you can imagine, a huge contest that we're all very excited for. I don't think Lachlan and Nick have ever competed against each other in a singles match before. They're both really talented. They're both great wrestlers, and I think it will be one of the standout bouts on the show. Obviously, Lachlan Sharp, he was victorious last month against Steve Cross, but then ran afoul of Rob Drake, who put a beating on him. But I'm told that he is back to 100%. He's raring to go. He's ready to put that behind him. He's going to focus now on the Castle Cup. And his goal is to defeat Nick Cutter and advance to the semi-finals on the 16th of April. So that's going to be a right old barn burner, brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first on Sportswire Radio. Nick Cutter, who announced a few weeks ago that he was entering the Castle Cup tournament to defend his Castle Cup, to get himself in a position once again to compete for the World Championship, is going to be in the ring with Lachlan Sharp. I mean, we talked about the asset Stephen Cross and Chris Egan. Either one of those could win the Castle Cup. I mean, Lachlan Sharp and Nick Cutter could easily be world champions in the LWF. That is a main event almost in any company, any promotion, any territory. That could arguably be the main event this Saturday. I mean, you thought that this card was stacked to begin with, where we're going to have the tag team championships defended. We're going to have the world champion Reynaldo return the ring in a tag team match with Sona Durson. We're going to have Helena Razor and Lana Austin in the ring with the current LWF women's champion, Jenny B and Aurora Tevis. We just mentioned the asset Stephen Cross, 2-Bit making his debut. But get this, we're now going to have Nick Cutter and Lachlan Sharp in the Castle Cup quarterfinals. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, this is even better than is advertised. And Shining Wizard and Aton Steen are going to be in the ring. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I'm just floored here. Forget about WrestleMania in a few weeks. Forget about AEW Retribution that just passed. I mean, this marching
That was a good show, though.
It was a good show.
AEW Revolution, that was a great show. Worth checking out on Fight TV if you live in the UK.
Revolution, it was great. No question. Revolution was great. But Marching On is going to be even better, especially now with the announcement of Nick Cutter and Lachlan Sharp. So listen, something tells me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be speaking quite a bit about this. And also, of course, our very good friend, this scenario, Nathan Gunn, who's going to be in the house here Friday night. And he'll be speaking about his match, which is going to be a huge match, obviously, for the tag team championships, the Blazing Guns versus the Wrecking Crew. So there is so much here that you need to do, and go out and find a way to go to the Buckshaw Village Community Center. You can do that. Tickets are still available. I think we're looking at what, £7 is for tickets right now? £7, £7 or £8?
Go to the Facebook page.
All right.
Double check the prices. I should have checked that, really.
I know Odyssey, I think it's like £6. We're at £7, something like that. So I usually...
The show should also be, if you're unable to get to the show in person, it should also be showing up on Powered 4 TV.
Yes, Powered 4
eventually
TV.
as well. Steve Bibby will be working away feverishly to ensure that everything gets uploaded. So, Powered 4 TV, it's a great place to, you can sign up there. You don't just get the LWF, you get access to all sorts of great wrestling from
you get
around
so
the
many
British
companies.
scene.
It's Odyssey, PWR, it's Progress, and so many companies. Catch is a part of it.
Catches on
Pinfall.
And also, there's actually a free match on there from the LWF that you don't even need to be subscribed to watch it. It's Mosh Pit Mayhem from September last year, which remains one of the best matches we've ever had in the LWF.
Now, we spoke about that quite a bit with Eitan Steen last month.
Yeah,
we spoke quite a bit about that.
Bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. And it's up there on Powered 4 TV for free. So if you want to get a taste of the LWF, you want to see what we're all about, watch that, and then please consider signing up for Powered 4 TV. You don't just get us. You get, as you say, Catch. You get Odyssey Pro Wrestling. You get so many great wrestling companies that are worth checking out and worth watching. Definitely worth doing. If you can't get there, you can't be there in person, don't worry. You can still see what happened when you log on to Power 4 TV.
Definitely do so. I can tell you it's definitely going to be worth it. And I'm going to definitely tell you, you're going to see a lot of great things in the future here at the LWF. And my friend, I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything you want to plug, anything you want to share, anything you want to say here before Saturday's event. I can't thank you enough as always. I think I had more fun this time than the last few times you came on. So I'm looking forward to that. Means next month is going to put even more pressure on us before Slamaganza. But I do want to give you the floor. Anything you want to plug, anything you want to say, and I can't thank you enough, and fire away.
Well, thank you very much, Vicar. Very kind of you. If you want to check out, you can check up you can sign up to Power 4 TV, watch the LWF there. We also have our own YouTube channel, which is called LWF Television, which is where we put up special interviews, the old Pulp Fiction montages, all that sort of stuff. You can find all of them on the LWF channel. There's also something very special that should be coming up in the next day or two on the LWF Television YouTube page, so keep an eye out for that. If you want to follow me, I'm a Mike Lovejoy Fitz on Twitter. It's that Mike Fitz 89. That Mike Fitz 87 on Instagram. I also, if you want to check out, I write about video games sometimes. You can go to gamingrespawn.com. I also contribute to Scott Keith's blog of Doom, blogodoom.com if you want to check that out. I'm running out of things to plug. Basically, don't just follow the LWF. Make sure you keep your ears to the ground. Keep viewing Sportswire. You don't just have me on. They actually have good guests on as well, such as Neres, the Asset Steve Cross.
Well, Gareth Angel was on. I mean, certainly Mr. Angel came on here. He's been on of quite a bit in the past. Yeah,
Sportswire. It's a great place. You want to keep track of it. You want to look at Reverend Tom Bryce. Look at him. He's a lovely chap. You want to listen. You want to support him. You will support him. I command you. But yeah, I want to thank the Vicar once again for having me on. It's very kind of him to have me on. It means a lot, not just to me, but to everyone else in the LWF that we're given this platform by the Reverend. It means a lot. So thank you very much. It's very kind of you. And please, if you can get to the show on the 12th of March, we'd love to see you there. And if you can't, sign up to Power 4 TV and watch it that way. You're going to want to follow the LWF. You want to keep a track of things. It's going to be a great show. And we'll be marching on the 12th of March and then Slamaganza on the 16th of April. It's all going to happen.
Absolutely. And before we go here, Gareth Angel is back. He says, thank you, Rev. Bless you, sir. And obviously, God bless you, Gareth Angel, for all you do, obviously. And I'm looking forward to maybe having you back on before the 19th. So maybe we can speak off the air here in a few minutes and arrange that. And obviously, I do want to thank everybody that continues to support us, especially in the LWF, because it does mean a lot, because I speak with a number of the talent that even those that haven't been on and how much they appreciate it. So I certainly appreciate the support from everyone in the locker room. And of course, especially Steve Bibby and Mikey Fitzgerald. So we're looking forward to Friday. And I guess figure maybe either 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock British Standard Time will be with the Scenario Nathan Gunn. So always looking forward to that. I always can't wait when he brings out Billy and Bart. I'm looking forward to Billy and Bart coming out there. I'm looking forward to him maybe bringing out his thoughts on Davey Getsky. And something tells me Mr. Getsky will be a part of that. Just something tells me Mr. Getsky, we haven't heard the last of him on a stream or two when it comes to
Thomas, haven't you suffered enough?
Well, I mean, that's up to Mr. Getsky because something tells me Mr. Getsky is going to come and find out. Certainly, Mr. Getsky and Mr. Stone, something tells me they'll find their way a part of it. But I can't thank you enough, my friend. I'm looking forward to speaking with you soon. I'm looking forward to speaking with you next month before.
I've just put you in my calendar now. I've literally just put you in my calendar.
You're the man.
It'll be 11th of April next time, won't it? I think.
Yeah, 11th of April. That's it. You're the man. Listen, that you know me well by now. I was actually going to say that anyway off to you. So yeah, same time.
I'm shockingly organized today. So yeah, there you go.
Same time, same bat channel, April 11th, 9 p.m. British Standard Time. So we've plugged it, I guess, 5 weeks in advance. So that tells you pretty much how we run and how we roll. And I can't thank you enough, my friend. I'm looking forward to Saturday's event. I'm certainly looking forward to what the rest of the locker room has to say about it. And we'll definitely speak with you soon and go get them.
Fantastic. Thank you. Take care, everyone.
As we're here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show with pro wrestling commentator from the LWF, and that's Mikey Fitzgerald. As I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportzwire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce.
Oh my God, may I?
Go ahead, jump in.
Reverend himself, Thomas Bryce.
I think before we go, that tops when ALP, who you might know from KOW, did the same thing for me once. He said, let me belt this one out for you, Tom. I'm gonna do your ring introduction. So that's what ALP did it, and also I think Simon Hill did it when we had Simon Hill once. I think Simon Hill did it, and I think Ethan Edwards did it. So now it seems
they all did it better than me, I'm sure.
No, I think yours held up. I mean, ALP.
Don't get mad at me.
I have to say, ALP did a very good job with it. I think ALP practiced it. I will say, knowing ALP, he definitely practiced it. The other guy, I think, just did it on a whim. So, but I'll have Mr. ALP on in a few weeks. I know for sure. So we'll see about that. But I want to thank everybody for watching this. And obviously, we will be back with the Asset Stephen Cross and Wildfire Nate Reese either later tonight or certainly tomorrow. We'll play those shows on sportnarium.com/player. Most likely, we'll probably play those tomorrow night around this time since we're a little bit behind schedule. But I do want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching us here with Mikey Fitzgerald and the LWF's upcoming Marching On event here, which will take place this Saturday at the Buckshaw Village Community Center. For more information, you can go on Twitter at LWF, also Instagram, the LWF Wrestling. And tickets are still available, so make sure you go out and buy a ticket or two if you're in the area. And we will be back here on Sportswire Radio tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So we will be back with a special live show. So stay tuned later on for more details. Thank you, everybody else, for watching and listening. I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce.